So it seems like every week there's another influencer getting exposed for something. It's like some people get a dose of internet clout and think that they're invincible to accountability or justice. Now, as far as getting canceled, nothing comes close to the story of activist Ricci Wynne, as it came out very recently that he was indicted on multiple counts of, I just can't stomach myself to say it. Now, as I looked further into this whole thing, this was unfortunately not his first time being involved in some controversy. And once you learn the type of activist he was before all of this went down, it just makes your blood boil when you think about all of it. So in this video, we're gonna take a full dive into who Ricci Wynne was, and I think by the end of this video, you will see why this guy deserves to lose everything.
We'll just start with like story time.
Great.
Now, in case you're unfamiliar with who this guy is, Ricci Wynne is a 39-year-old social media influencer from San Francisco, California, which is also the place he filmed his content. And that consisted of recording people and documenting the homelessness along with the drug epidemic plaguing his city.
There's little children up in this building. Y'all need to take that somewhere else.
Take what?
Using this dope right here.
Hey, you doing dope?
Y'all need to use the dope somewhere else. Baby girl, what do you got going on here? You gotta stop. You can't be out here. There's little kids out here. Brother, come on, man. You guys are in front of a building right here. You smoking in front of a building right here.
Now, Ricci Wynne would go on to average a decent following from his advocacy for cleaning the streets. He quickly made himself a voice for the Bay Area and even got featured on some local news stations.
It's a complicated situation here, but what they're doing is making the problem worse by creating a political atmosphere to where they are moving our moral goalposts further away from what it should be they're using.
Now, I'm sure most would agree that activism is important, and the cause he was fighting for on the surface is only for the betterment of his environment, so Ricci came off as a very likable person. But here's the thing, just because someone seems likable, once people dig deeper into the background, things can take a dark twist. In this case, Ricci Wynne falls right into that.
Got him. We fucking got him.
So for the sake of not wasting too much time, we'll be going over Ricci Wynne's long laundry list of controversies. Now, what better way to start off than a good picture of the man in his element? Yeah, this picture alone is a controversy, especially if you're familiar with politics. But moving forward from that, it turns out Ricci does have an extensive criminal history, with him being a former drug dealer before his activist days on Instagram. Now, it's granted, Ricci stated that he left all of this drug dealing behind once he became an influencer. And at this point, you can kind of see that this is another reason why people supported him, as some praised Ricci for turning his life around after doing some time, or so they thought. Now that we're done with all that,
let's get straight to it.
In November of 2024, Ricci Wynne was landing at the San Francisco International Airport, where he was met with local law enforcement. He was then detained along with a woman he was traveling with for suspicion of pimping and pandering. Oh, and you can also throw on a human trafficking suspicion. That's what they were after him for too. Authorities then confiscated Ricci's phone after searching him to conduct further investigations. And this is where they reportedly found something straight out of a twisted horror movie. Authorities found footage of Ricci coercing 2 children to engage in some extremely inappropriate activities, all on his camera roll. On March 22nd, 2025, Ricci Wynne was hit with an indictment on 2 counts of producing child pornography, on top of the original cases I mentioned before.
Wynne is in trouble with the law again. He's already behind bars on suspicion of felony pimping charges, and now a federal grand jury has indicted him for producing child pornography. The new indictment says Wynne enticed 2 minors to, quote, engage in sexually explicit conduct. Prosecutors say he recorded the minors with the intentions of making money off the videos.
As if all of this wasn't bad enough, authorities also have been linking Ricci Wynne to a possible sexual assault of a 15-year-old girl, according to a news release from a local station. I mean, where do I even start? The fact that this guy was a potential freak behind his activism, or that this perv just straight up lied to everybody about putting his past behind him.
Stop it.
Get some help.
So Ricci wasn't the sinner turned angel that many thought. I mean, not surprising given his criminal history and current charges. Speaking of which, Wynne has pled not guilty to the original investigation of human trafficking. But as far as that indictment on those 2 charges, there hasn't been an update on his end with that. I also want to mention that Ricci happens to be on probation since 2019. So add that onto the deep shit this guy is already in, and his social media career has to be the last thing anyone is talking about right now. Do I even need to say why this is wrong on so many levels? Unless you're completely out of touch with morals and the law, then yeah, I think we can all say that this guy is a fucking loser. There's a lot of ways that I can denounce it, but let's just put it like this. I just can't believe that through all of the previous run-ins with the law, this guy announced he's turning his life around, becomes an activist and builds a positive platform, farms nothing but support from the media, just to end up being exposed for something far worse and more disgusting. Just unbelievable. Now, as I mentioned, these investigations are still happening, but it's anyone's guess that Ricci is probably going to be sent away for a while. Wynne currently faces a minimum of 15 years in prison along with a $250,000 fine. And who knows if there's anything else that's going to come up. Now, as far as his platform goes, well, I think I speak for all of us when I say,
turn that shit off. Turn that shit off!
And it looks like YouTube already beat us to that, as his channel was completely removed for violating guidelines. I say it's next for IG to do the same and just erase that account, since some of us are already calling for that too. Because no one who does these things, or being accused for that matter, should even be allowed to create accounts on social media. I know I laid into Wynne enough, and I think all of us have similar stances on this clusterfuck. There's a few points I think that's worth mentioning though. Of course, this guy deserves to lose everything and get sent to the dark realm, and there's no excuse for any of this stuff in the charges if they stick. Now, while these are just indictments and there's a possibility that they could be changed later, it's kind of hard to see that when the authorities been after Ricci for a while now. So clearly there's something there. In the end, I feel like this affects more than the supposed victims of Ricci when it comes to his followers. I bet that there was a good amount of people who supported this guy for the actual cause that he was fighting for. So it's really disheartening to see that the person you were supporting the whole time turns out to be a freak. Then it gets more sad when you think about those interviews Ricci did with the media outlets in the Bay Area, not knowing that these people were interviewing a potential monster. Just unbelievable. So at this point, I'm done talking about the sicko, and if you guys have any thoughts, feel free to leave them in the comments down below. As far as I know, this guy needs to be exiled from the universe. If you guys enjoyed this in any way, shape, or form, drop a like. I'd really appreciate it. Every like is another year added to Wynne's prison sentence. I'm out of here, and until next time, I hope y'all stay blessed and safe, and yeah, deuces.